Hi, everybody. Welcome to lesson 12.8, units of time. If you could please get out your Go Math book and turn to page 685. All right, in this lesson, we're going to be talking about units of time, which is something you should be familiar with because you spent a lot of time on it in second grade and quite a bit of time on it in third grade. We're going to be taking it to the next level today because we're going to be looking at units of time and converting them from a larger unit to a smaller unit. So let's go ahead and talk about clocks. Unlock the problem. The analog clock below has an hour hand, a minute hand, and a second hand to measure time. The time is 4:30 and 12 seconds, or 30 minutes and 12 seconds after 4. Our first question to look at is, are there more minutes or seconds in an hour? Well, if we look down here, it helps us out with that. There are 60 seconds in a minute and 60 minutes in an hour. So if I think about that, if each minute has 60 seconds and each hour has 60 of those minutes, then there are definitely more seconds in an hour than minutes. Okay, let's look at how that works. The clocks below show how far the hands move for each length of time. So if we start at 3 o'clock, that means that the small hand is pointing at the 3 and the big hand, which is the minute hand, and the second hand are pointing at the 12. If 1 second passes, just the red hand moves. It's going to move to the right. After a whole minute goes by, the second hand comes back to the 12, but your minute hand, the long hand, moves 1 minute over. After it does that 60 times, the large hand moves to the 4, and both of the minute and second hands are back at the 12. So let's go ahead and compare. How does the size of an hour compare to the size of a second? Well, we know that there are 60 minutes in an hour, and there are 60 seconds in a minute. So in order to compare seconds and hours, I need to multiply those two. So 60 times 60. I'm going to come over here and do some side math. So that's lots of space. So we know our zero multiplication. 0 times 0 is 0. 0 times 0 is 0. Then I add a 0 because I'm moving to the next place value. 6 times 0 is still 0. 6 times 6 is 36. Ooh, crazy line. 0, 0, 6, 3. So there are 3,600 seconds in an hour. So 1 hour is 3,600 times as long as 1 second. Okay, let's move to our examples on the next page. Example 2, we're going to be comparing some more measures. Larissa spent 2 hours on her science project. Cliff spent 200 minutes on his science project. Who spent more time? Well, let's find our numbers. We have 2 and 200. Our question is asking who spent more time. I can see more is an important word here. And my units are minutes and hours. So those are our important ones. So what am I going to do in order to compare these two? Well, I know hours are larger than minutes, so I can change hours into minutes. To do this, I'm going to make a table that relates hours and minutes. So 1 hour equals 60 minutes. That's easy, we know that. 2 hours equals how many minutes? Well, we do 60 times 2, which is really easy because all you have to do is 2 times 6 and then add a 0. So it's 120. So there are 120 minutes in 2 hours. So how many minutes are in 3 hours? Well, 6 times 2 is 18 plus a 0 is 180. So in 3 hours, you have 180 minutes. So now we're going to compare them. We wanted to know 2 hours. Looking at our table, 2 hours is 120 seconds. Or sorry, 2 hours is 120 minutes, not seconds. I apologize. And then I'm not changing the 200 minutes. It's the same. So if I'm now comparing them, because they both have minutes as their units, I can actually compare them and decide which one is larger. 120 versus 200. We can easily see that 200 is greater. So who spent more time on their project? Well, Larissa spent that 120 minutes or 2 hours. Cliff spent 200 minutes. So 2 hours is less than 200 minutes. So Cliff spent more time than Larissa on the science project. Okay, and that's example 2. Alrighty, now we're going to be going into comparing other units of time. So we've looked at hours, seconds, and minutes, and now we're going to move on to weeks and days. So compare the length of a week to the length of a day. For this, you can use your regular pencil or colored pencils, whichever you prefer. So the number line below shows the relationship between days and weeks. Use a colored pencil to shade in 1 week on the number line. Well, since we know our days of the week, I know that there are 7 days in 1 week. So I'm going to shade in all the way through 7. So that represents 1 whole week. And 1 day would be represented by this piece in here. So if I look at those and compare them, we have 7 days in 1 week. So 1 week is 7 times as long as 1 day. So you'd multiply however many days by 7. Okay, and that is weeks and days. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to our share and show. Now we're going to do number 1 together because it's going to be another one where we look at new units of time. We're going to be comparing the length of a year to the length of a month and use the model to help. Well, if I look over here, this units of time table is very helpful. So I know that there are 12 months in a year. I'm going to shade in the 12 months in 1 year. And this represents 1. So 1 year is 12 times as long as 1 month. Okay, let's look at 2 and 3. So now I have 2 minutes equals how many seconds? Well, I know I have 60 seconds in a minute. So I'm going to multiply 2 times 6, which equals 120. So there are 120 seconds in 2 minutes. 4 years and months. Well, I know that in 1 year there are 12 months. So I'm going to multiply 4 times 12. So 4 times 12 equals 48. So there are 48 months in 4 years. Okay, let's move on to the on your own section. Now that you've had some practice watching Mrs. Watson do them, I'm going to have you go ahead and pause the video and do 4, 5, 6, and 7 on your own. Press play when you're ready to check your work. Okay, everybody, we have minutes and seconds. So I'm changing minutes to seconds and multiplying by 60. So 3 times 60 is 180. So there are 180 seconds in 3 minutes. I've got 4 hours equals however many minutes. Well, there are 60 minutes in 1 hour, so I'm going to do 4 times, which equals 240. So there are 240 minutes in 4 hours. Okay, 6 and 7. This time I'm going to be comparing using greater than, less than, or equal to. So I have to know which one is more, 3 years or 35 months. Well, in order to figure that out, I need to change years to months. So I'm going to multiply 3 times 12, 36. So 36 months versus 35 months. 36 months is greater. And last but not least, number 7, 2 days versus 40 hours. Well, if I go back and look at my table on the share and show section, which is the top of your page, but we have 1 day equals 24 hours, which most of us should know off the top of our heads. So this time I'm going to be multiplying 2 times 24. I'm going to do some side math for that one. So I'm going to have 24 times 2. 4 times 2 is 8. 2 times 2 is 4. So I've got 48 hours versus 40 hours. 48 is larger. All right, that's it for our lesson today. You're going to go ahead and complete your practice pages from the book in a Google form. Remember, we're not doing all of them, just the selected problems in the Google form. Don't forget to write down your answers in your math book in case something happens to your digital copy. Message me with questions.